Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Charisse Marie, your enthusiastic guide on this journey to unlocking prosperity and manifesting your dreams into reality. As we navigate this journey together, we'll dive into themes of gratitude, resilience, and vision, elements that form the foundation of abundant life. You'll discover how embracing these principles can propel you toward unimaginable success. Remember, you have the power to manifest abundance beyond measure. Together, let's unlock doors to prosperity, one episode at a time.
Hello, good morning. It is 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I am Dr. Luz Johnston with Parenting on Purpose. So today what we're going to be talking about is my call to action. Be human, raise badass humans. So first and foremost, what you need to know, and we're here in the Infinite Wealth Forum, what does raising children have to do with infinite wealth? Well, we know how we do one thing is how we do all things. So there's no real separation between how I am in my business and how I am in my family. And so what we're going to talk about are the things that get in the way of you being the kind of parent that you wanted as a child and that you want to be for your own children. And guess what? The deal is that the things that hold us back in our families are the same things that are holding us back in our businesses. And this is about infinite wealth. And wealth is really connected to health in all arenas. That's honestly how those two things are connected. They're the same thing. Wealth and health are the same thing. And it happens in your business, in your personal life, and in every aspect. So let's talk about that today. So be human, raise badass humans. So before we even begin, you're going to want to know, who are you? So I'm going to tell you my origin story. The beginning of my story starts on May 28th, 1998. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, and I was a hot mess in the middle of a parking lot. It had taken me 7 minutes, 7 like agonizing minutes, 7 minutes when time stopped, of me trying to get my infant and my toddler out of umbrella strollers, out of their car seats and into an umbrella stroller and a front-facing carrier. I'm trying to get to my 6-week postpartum appointment. And when my son's arm flipped out of that front-facing carrier and his head almost hit the pavement, I knew like one thing for certain. I didn't have what it took. I had spent the last 2.5 years of my daughter's life trying to duct tape parenting solutions together. And what I realized was that all of the books and all of the work out there for parents was about these two people and not about me. I was intelligent enough to know the strategies and to implement them, but I wasn't. And I was constantly in the swim. And what I mean by that was things would happen and I would react. So when everything was going well, I was bathed, I had breakfast, which was pretty rare, by the way. Then those were the days when I felt really good, on top of the world. I'm going to be able to do this. And on the days when it didn't go well, I felt like a failure. I felt like it was never going to happen. I was consistently reacting to the situation and not really able to respond to the situation. So what I learned from that time was that I needed to do something different. And there were these child development books, and then there were the spiritual books. So what I had to do was to do something different for myself, to be something different for myself. So I come from a family of immigrants. My parents came from the Philippines in 1967. And you know what? They just did not have the bandwidth to really delve deeply into themselves. They were scrapping, they were just trying to make it work and make it happen. And so for me as a little person, I had to make meaning. We are meaning-making machines. So the first part of this phrase, be human, raise badass humans, is about what we need to do for ourselves in order to raise those badass humans that we want to. So on that day in 1998, when my son's arm flipped out and I knew for certain that I didn't have it all together, that's the day that I decided, or I started to parent on purpose. Because I believe that the purpose of parenting is twofold. One, to be human, to be who we truly are meant to be at the beginning. And then while we raise ourselves, we become badasses ourselves, we become the models for our children so that they are confident, they are self-assured, and they're ready to meet the world no matter what. So in today's talk, we talked about what is be human, right? It means to come back to who we truly are, the humans that we were meant to be, all-knowing, confident, self-assured, drawing from a source beyond who we are. And that's what this infinite wealth form is all about. So my friend, Albert Einstein said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. What that means is that we have inside of ourselves an intuition that guides us towards our goals. But we are so mired in this front part, our executive mind, our prefrontal cortex that tells us what we should do. But our intuitive mind knows what is best and in our highest. And again, another way to look at this, 95% of what we do and what we feel is governed by the subconscious. My friends, we are all icebergs. We've got who we project ourselves to be at the top, and below the waterline is the subconscious. So the 95% of what we feel and what we do is governed by the subconscious. So Carl Jung likes to say, until we make the subconscious conscious, we will be ruled by it and call it fate. So there's lots of things below the surface that govern what we do and how we feel. And oftentimes that gets in the way of us being at our best, no matter where we are. And today we're talking about in our families. So this happens because of the following. As children before the age of 7, remember I said, we are meaning-making machines. And what that means is that before the age of 7, because we don't have the depth of experience, we are excellent perceivers and poor interpreters. What that means is, as a young person, you can feel when things are off. You can know that you're not being treated correctly. But because you don't have a depth of experience and because you're not in your rational mind, the interpretation is always, like the second bullet point says, things are safe or unsafe. We might also say things are good and things are bad. We have very few ways in which to interpret the big events in our lives. So we deem them safe or unsafe. And what we end up doing for ourselves is we start saying, in order to keep myself safe, I need to make sure that I don't do the following. So for example, if someone says, stop being so nosy, we will stop being nosy because it is unsafe. It has felt like we were being judged and it feels really hard. So maybe we stop inquiring, we stop thinking. We say to ourselves, it is safer not to ask questions. And we know that question making and curiosity is really what brings us forward in our lives. We might say to ourselves, for example, as a little person, my sister had a lot of health problems. And so a lot of the attention went onto my sister. This is no fault, no shame, no shade to my parents. They were doing the best they could. But in my young perception, I knew something was off. I knew I wasn't getting the attention and care that I required and needed and deserved, but my interpretation of it was, I don't matter. So I lived my life for quite a bit living with that running system, that program of I don't matter. And how does that show up? Well, if I don't matter, I accept behavior from people that's unacceptable. I accept positions and employment that is unacceptable because I don't matter. My needs don't matter. My opinion doesn't matter. So you see how that is? I felt really unsafe in that situation. I felt that I wasn't getting my needs met. So I'm going to cover that up by behaving a way that keeps me safe. And that way of being safe is to reinforce the underlying belief of I don't matter. We're going to take this a little bit further today. So as young people, we make promises to ourselves to only do things that will keep us safe. So it's not your fault. It's not your fault. If things aren't going your way, if you say to yourself, I want X, but you're always seeing Z, know that the subconscious is running below the surface and stopping you. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to get to the bottom of this. I want you to know that change is possible. Remember, Jung said, until we make the subconscious conscious, it will rule our lives and we will call it fate. So today is the day, my friends, that you're going to stop doing that. Today is the day you're going to start looking into that subconscious, making it conscious. So I am a 11 Life Coaching Academy certified coach, and I specialize in reinvention. And what that means is that I help you look into that subconscious, determine what are these limiting beliefs and disowned qualities, and help you to keep moving so that all of those programs that are running in your subconscious stop working because we don't need them anymore. So I was a college professor. I never had time to look at my life much, and so I just let things happen to me. I kept going on the path from classroom teacher to site leader, principal, to college professor. And in the fall of 2021, it finally got to me. I had strived and gotten to the highest place that I could in academia. I was a tenure track professor. I could have worked at that college forever. And what I realized at the top of the mountain was, wow, this isn't actually where I want to be. I'm in a situation that is untenable. I am working hard and not feeling that I'm receiving the wealth that I deserve. So I stepped away. And during that time of stepping away, I discovered Nancy Levin's work, and now I am a life coach. So what does this have to do with parenting? Here's a quote from Maya Angelou. People won't remember what you say or what you do, but how you make them feel. So let's think about this. How do we feel best supported? And how do we want to best support the young people in our families, in our lives? What we have to do, and what I'm talking about when I'm talking about reinvention, is the transformation equation. Change equals vision plus choice plus action. Transformation begins with a willingness to be different, to learn how to predict an incredible future by making new choices, by setting healthy boundaries and developing a sense of self-worth so that your no is a no. It's a powerful no, and your yes is a yes. And then developing a deep sense of self-confidence. So let's start today with the reinvention equation. I said transformation equals choice plus action. Vision plus choice plus action. And one of the things that we need to do is to start acting and choosing from a different vision. So we'll start today by identifying one belief. So you tell yourself, so how does this work, right? you tell yourself the truth about your life. We're going to start by telling the truth about our lives. Tell ourselves the truth of what really is in this bigger sense. Tell someone that we trust and envision an empowered future. And it's only through facing the truth that you will be able to fulfill your potential and live the life you were meant to live. It's only by jumping that you will be able to learn to fly. And when you start this, you'll have all of these things available to you after you begin your reinvention process. And what I want you to do is make room for you to emerge. So let's go back a few slides. And I want you to let's identify one belief that's running below the surface. So again, how this happens is between the ages of 0 to 7, something happens and we have to make meaning around it. So for me, my sister was sick and I made meaning around not getting my needs met. And that meaning was, I don't matter. So when we're thinking about identifying one belief, what I want you to do is to think about things that stop you. So what's in the way of you doing things? So we could have a belief such as, I'm too old to own my own business, to be an entrepreneur. I'm too young. I don't have the education. Whatever those kind of limiting beliefs are, identify one. So I'll give you just a minute to think about what's something that is holding me back. And then as you're thinking about that, just tune in. So take a quick kind of look inside. How young does that belief feel? Remember, we're looking at 0 to 7. You don't need to know the specific circumstance or have the specific memory. You can just say, that feels 4. So now what you do after you've identified this one belief, and I'll take mine, I don't matter, I have to go back in time. And that feeling for me is very young. It's like 1. So what I need to do is to update the part of me that believes I don't matter. So I have to take that feeling of being 1 all the way up. I'm 53 now. So all the way up and talk about where are the times when I did matter. So I have so many times in my childhood. There were people in my life who encouraged me, and that's when I mattered. There were opportunities that I was able to participate in because I mattered. So I'm going to tell that younger part of me, that part of me that holds the belief I don't matter, and fill it with truth telling. These are the things that tell us that I do matter. So I'll update. So I'll tell them that, starting in middle school, I discovered theater and singing and joined every chorus I could, and performing was such a big deal, and writing poetry. And so talking about all those times when I did matter, when I was able to be in plays, or even not on the stage, but in the chorus, or sometimes there were a couple of times when I took lead roles. There were a couple of times when I worked in the background on sound and lighting, and all of it was so amazing. And in every circumstance, no matter what, I mattered. So now that we've updated that younger part of ourselves who holds that belief, what we have to do is now think of a new empowering belief. So if the old belief is I don't matter, this new belief for me could be as simple as I do matter, or I am valued. Actually, that one feels really good for me today. So my new empowering belief is I am valued. And the most important person that values me is me. So that's my new empowering belief. I am valued, and the most important person who values me is me. Just take a moment to think of that empowering belief. And let's take it a step further. So this is called Be Human, Raise Badass Humans. Once we have that limiting belief identified, we take the steps to heal ourselves. And this is not a one and done. We're not doing this in 15 minutes and then we're done. Every time I feel myself shrinking and saying to myself, I don't matter, I'm going to say to myself, I am valued, and the most important person who values me is me. So let's apply this to parenting. Where in your life are you shrinking? Are you not valuing yourself? Well, for me as a young mother, so I'm 53, I have grown-ass adults. My daughter Sophia is 29. My son Ben is 26. They're both living on their own. My son just took a bucket list trip to Iceland. He's landing back in the US today. So when I think of those times when I shrunk when they were little, it looked like missing lunch because I had to run and do errands on my lunch break. It looked like putting myself last. So I actually also, when they were in middle school and high school, which was a very active time for them, they were in several after-school activities. I sort of didn't spend all the time that I wanted to on my graduate school project. So those were times in my life when I could have been saying, I am not worthy of time, or I don't matter. But when I catch myself now, having done this work, so for example, if we're running busy, I do see my children quite often. So maybe I'm running late and I decide that I'm not going to do my non-negotiable practices in the morning, which are meditation and journaling. I have to sit back and I have to say, I don't have enough time. I'm just going to skip meditation and journaling. I have to say to myself, wait a second, hold on. I am valued, and the person who values me most is me. And as I take that in and take a deep breath, I can see the possibility of what I can do in that moment. So if I can't take the full amount of time for meditation and journaling, I'll say, what I can do is I can meditate for 5 minutes, and I can hold myself in that meditative state all the way on the way into San Francisco. I live in the Bay Area and I live across the bay from them. So you see how understanding and installing, reprogramming, and going through this helps you to get out of your own way. So whether it is in business or in families, what we do for ourselves, we also do for our children. So being human, again, means identifying those beliefs and getting back to who we are. To saying to ourselves, like with my new empowered belief, I am valued, and the person who values me most is me. Once we do that and our children see that, they begin to understand what it means to take time for themselves, to support themselves, to continue to look into themselves. And I'll say, I really have some very mentally healthy young people in my life. I'm so proud of the people that they've become. They stand up for what they believe. They think about what they want, how they want to be, and then they act from that. So, for example, my son, having just gone to Iceland, what he did for himself and his belief is that he does matter. And he learned that from watching me, from understanding what I had to do. So when he moved out on his own and he experienced a breakup, one of the things that he did do for himself, because he knew that he mattered, was decide to kind of unravel for himself who he needed to be. And part of that journey is the self-discovery of being for himself. So that is how we be human. which is to reclaim our full humanity, all these parts of ourselves, installing new empowered beliefs, understanding what we need to heal from our past. And then as we become that role model, our children naturally gravitate to that. So when we do this, here's what you discover on the other side of reinvention. When you've gone through this path and you've thought about how you can reclaim all of that subconscious, bring it to the conscious, and make a new path for yourself, you're going to have the confidence to say no to things that don't align with your vision. So remember, the equation is vision plus choice plus action equals transformation. You're going to have clarity around what's truly a priority in your life. You're going to have closer relationships that build on mutual respect and understanding, and you're going to have more time, more fun, and more purpose. I like to say for parents that every minute that you spend in non-negotiable time for you is like 10 minutes. It equals 10x the time and that you can spend with your children. And I'm talking quality time when you're really fully present. You're going to have increased self-worth and self-love. We all need that. You're going to have the ability to ask for what you want without guilt, and you're going to have an excitement for your life. And I want that for you. So make room for you to reemerge. And I have a great, so one of the things that I do is I work with parents. I'm a certified coach, and I help them get back to their humanity and raise badass humans. So I have a new program. It's very short. It's about family meetings. So it's one of the tools in the toolkit that you can use in order to help your children. And it's a very short mini course. So this mini course, in about 30 minutes over 5 days, you're going to learn the tricks and tips that I've used in my life and that I've used with my families to be human, show up in my full humanity in these family meetings, and to raise badass humans. So we've got the QR code here, and we're also dropping the link below. So you'll see that on the page here. And also, if you're watching this on recording, it will be in the video below. So, my friends, I hope that this has been really helpful for you. And if you're watching this on the recording in a replay, take some time to, number one, find that limiting belief. Update the part of you that's still holding on to that belief because it wants to keep you safe. And then install and practice a new empowered belief. And if you do that, you will be parenting on purpose, which again is be human, raise badass humans. Thanks for joining this talk, whether you're doing it live or in the replay. And I hope to be seeing you in the program.
I'm Cherise Marie, and I'm grateful you joined us today as we explored the boundless potential within each of us to manifest a life rich in all dimensions. We love hearing your thoughts and stories, so don't hesitate to reach out and join our growing community of like-minded visionaries. Until next time, keep dreaming big and manifesting boldly. And remember, you have the power to create a world of infinite wealth and limitless opportunities. Together, let's continue paving this path to prosperity. Take care, stay inspired, and as always, dream on.